Jake never thought he'd stick around at Circle K this long. 2 years ago, he walked into this convenience store with the idea of working a few months, just enough to pay off some credit card debt, get new tires for his rusted 1998 Toyota Corolla, and then find something less soul-crushing. But life has a way of trapping you. Now, at 24, he was still here, wearing the faded green Circle K polo, a crooked name tag reading Jake, happy to serve, stuck behind the counter on endless night shifts. The Circle K sat on the edge of Flagstaff, Arizona, a small town where the highway cut through dry plains and distant mountains blurred on the horizon. At night, the place was eerily still. The parking lot stretched empty under a flickering neon sign. Half the K burned out, buzzing faintly. Inside, fluorescent lights cast a pale glow over racks of snacks, sodas, and cheap beer. The fridge coolers hummed a monotonous tune, blending with the pop playlist crackling through the ceiling speaker. Tonight, it was Taylor Swift, some breakup song Jake couldn't be bothered to name. Leaning against the counter, Jake scrolled TikTok on his cracked iPhone. A video of cats jumping around, then some kid showing off a new bike. He smirked. Other people's lives always seemed more interesting. It was a slow night, no customers since 11 p.m. except a trucker who grabbed a Red Bull and a pack of Marlboros. Jake didn't mind. Quiet meant less work, and less work meant he could zone out, let his mind drift somewhere far from this dead-end town. But night shifts weren't all downtime. Around 1 a.m., the delivery truck rolled up, parking by the back door. Jake pocketed his phone, rubbed his hands against the chill. Arizona nights bit hard, even in late March, and dragged the dolly out. The driver, a middle-aged guy in a grease-stained cap, gave a curt nod, dropped off the stack of cardboard boxes, and peeled out. Jake sighed, hauling the load into the back room where dust and the smell of old cardboard hung thick in the air. It wasn't fun, bending, lifting, ripping tape, but it kept him awake. He started with the Doritos, then the Red Bulls, moving like a machine. Last up were the milk crates, gallon jugs the locals bought for cooking or cereal. He grabbed the final crate, frowning. It felt off, heavier than usual, not just a few extra gallons, but heavy in a weird, solid way. "Who packs this crap?" he muttered, setting it on the floor and pulling out his box cutter. The blade sliced through the tape with a dry rasp. He flipped the flaps open, expecting neat rows of white plastic jugs. There was no milk. Inside was a human skeleton. Jake froze, breath catching in his throat. The bones gleamed white, too clean, folded tightly to fit the small crate. Ribs curved inward, arms and legs tucked like a fetus, the skull tilted with empty eye sockets staring up. He yelped, a short, choked sound, and dropped the crate. It hit the concrete with a thud, the skull rolling out, spinning a few times before stopping, grinning at him with hollow jaws. "What the hell?" Jake stumbled back, crashing into a metal shelf, sending cans clattering to the floor. His heart pounded, blood rushing in his ears, mind reeling. He gasped, hands shaking as he fumbled for his phone, ready to dial 911. But he stopped, staring at the skeleton. A prank? The day shift guys had taped ghost stickers to the cooler once, but this was too real. The bones didn't smell of paint or glue like Halloween props. They smelled old, dry, like something buried too long. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. "Chill, Jake," he muttered, voice shaky. Probably a mix-up, or some psycho's idea of a joke. But it sounded hollow even to him. He crouched, keeping a safe distance from the skull, and looked closer. The skeleton lay on its side, one arm bone cracked from the fall. Then he saw it, a glint among the bones, right at the neck. A necklace, tarnished, a tiny cross pendant dulled by time. Jake's stomach dropped. He knew that necklace. He'd seen it hundreds of times, dangling from his mom's neck, Linda. She'd fiddle with it when she was stressed, hunched over bills at the kitchen table, or arguing with his dad over the phone. Linda, the woman who'd vanished from his life 12 years ago when he was just 12. The cops said she ran off, tired of her husband and kid. His dad, Hank, bought it, but Jake never did. He couldn't believe she'd leave him without a word. Now, staring at that necklace among the bones, he knew he'd been right. Memories hit like a flood. Jake saw her driving the beat-up Ford Escort to pick him up from elementary school, smelled the cheap Walmart perfume she wore, $5 a bottle. She'd hum Dolly Parton's Jolene in the kitchen, cooking spaghetti, telling stories about her wild teenage years in Texas. Linda wasn't perfect. She snapped when tired, and money was always tight, but she loved Jake, he knew that. Then one day, she didn't come home. No note, no call, no trace. Hank said she ran off with some guy, but no one ever proved it. Jake had lived 12 years with that unanswered question, until now. He stood, head spinning like he'd just run a marathon. Was this her? Was this Linda? He didn't want to believe it, but the necklace didn't lie. He needed answers. Jake stood in the Circle K backroom, the flickering fluorescent light overhead stretching his shadow across the cold concrete. The skeleton lay sprawled before him, skull tilted aside, the necklace glinting faintly among the bones. His throat felt dry, like someone had shoved sand down it. His mind blanked, then raced, thoughts crashing like runaway trucks. Was this his mom? Linda, the woman who sang him to sleep, who hugged him when he skinned his knee falling off his bike, reduced to bones in a misdelivered milk crate? He stepped back again, banging into the shelf, more cans tumbling down. The clatter echoed in the silence, but he didn't bother picking them up. He rubbed his face, tried to slow his breathing. "Calm down, Jake," he muttered, voice cracking. "It's a mistake. Someone screwing with me." But the words rang empty. Who'd pull this kind of stunt? And that necklace. Damn it, that necklace. How could he explain that? He glanced at his hand, still gripping the box cutter, blade trembling in the light. He dropped it, the small clink punctuating his panic. He needed to do something, call someone. The cops? No, not yet. He didn't want them storming in, asking questions, turning this into a crime scene before he figured it out. He needed time. Fumbling, he pulled out his phone, nearly dropping it. The cracked screen lit up, 2:17 a.m. He scrolled to Rick, manager, and hit call, pressing it to his ear, eyes locked on the skeleton. The line rang, each tone stretching in the quiet. "Hello." Rick's voice came through, gravelly and pissed, like he'd just been yanked from sleep. "Jake, what the hell you want this late?" "Rick, you gotta get down here," Jake said, forcing calm into his voice but failing to hide the edge. "Something weird's up. In the back room." "What now? Out of beer again, and you're freaking out?" Rick grumbled, the flick of a lighter sparking a cigarette audible over the line. "It's not beer. It's a skeleton. In a milk crate. A human skeleton, Rick." Jake's voice spiked, hand tightening on the phone. Silence. Then Rick laughed, a wheezing, barroom chuckle. "A skeleton? You drunk or watching too many horror flicks, Jake? Don't mess with me at 2 in the morning." "I'm not messing around." Jake snapped, cutting him off. "It's here, right in front of me. And I think it's my mom." Another pause, longer this time. Rick cleared his throat, serious now. "What did you say? Your mom? Linda? You sure?" "I don't know," Jake said, voice shrinking, as if saying it louder would make it real. "But there's a necklace, the one she used to wear. I recognize it." Rick sighed, a heavy smoker's wheeze. "Look, Jake, if you're not joking, this is big. But I'm home, 20 miles out. Call the cops. I can't handle this." "No, not yet," Jake shot back. "I need to know what's going on first. Where'd this crate come from? Why is it here?" "Then check the label," Rick snapped. "Everything's on there, supplier date. I don't memorize every damn box. And if you're not calling the cops, deal with it yourself. Don't bug me at this hour." He hung up, leaving Jake with a cold dial tone. Jake stared at the crate. The label, torn at one corner, read, "Circle K Distribution, Phoenix, Arizona. Code 031524. He frowned. Phoenix was the main hub where all Flagstaff stock came through. But this crate didn't match the others. Cardboard faded old, like it had sat somewhere for years before landing here by mistake. He needed more, but not now, not with his head spinning. He locked the back room, leaving the skeleton in the dark. He couldn't look at it anymore, not tonight. Back at the counter, the front door chimed, ding, snapping him out of it. Tina walked in. She worked nights at another Circle K a few blocks away, tall and wiry, red-dyed hair a mess under a hoodie that swallowed her uniform. She often swung by on slow shifts with coffee from her store's machine. "Yo, Jake." Why's your face white as a ghost? Tina asked, setting a paper cup on the counter. See something spooky? Jake gave a weak laugh, unsure how to answer. Close enough. Tina frowned, studying him. For real, what's up? You look like you ran a marathon. He hesitated. He didn't want to drag her in, but he needed to tell someone to not feel like he was losing it. Would you believe me if I said I found a skeleton in a milk crate? Tina's eyes widened, then she laughed. What? A skeleton? You pulling my leg. I wish, Jake said, voice dropping. He spilled it all. The heavy crate, the bones, the necklace. When he got to Linda, Tina stopped laughing, her hand freezing midair with the coffee. Jesus, Jake, she whispered. You think it's really her? I don't know, he said, turning to stare out the dark glass door. But I've got to find out. I can't leave it there without knowing. Tina nodded slowly, processing. Okay, so what's the plan? Cops. Not yet, Jake said. I want to figure it out first. Where that crate came from, who sent it, why it's here. I don't want cops turning it into a circus before I get answers. Then you need help, Tina said, setting the cup down with resolve. I'm off in an hour. I'll come back, and we'll dig through the delivery logs. If that crate's not from Phoenix, something's off. Jake looked at her, a flicker of relief cutting through his chest. Thanks, Tina. I didn't want to drag you in, but... Shut up, she cut in, smacking his shoulder. You're my friend. Plus, I'm dying to know what's up with that crate. An hour later, Tina returned with a box of donuts from her store. Fuel, she said. They sat in the back room, the skeleton covered with an old tarp Jake found in a corner. They tore through stacks of old delivery logs, yellowed, crumpled papers piled in a cardboard box under Rick 45. They worked until 4:30 a.m. when Jake found an odd sheet. Look at this, he said, holding it up. Crate code 031524. Not from Phoenix. It's from a warehouse out by Route 66. Abandoned since 2012. Tina frowned, reading the faded print. 2012? When did your mom disappear? 2011, Jake said, voice hoarse. Just a year off. They stared at each other, the air growing heavy. The Arizona chill seeped into their bones. Jake clutched the paper, a plan forming. About to go there, he said. That warehouse. I need to know what happened. Alone? Tina asked, worried. It's an hour away, and it's abandoned. Who knows what's there? Then come with me, Jake said, half joking, half serious. When she nodded, he knew he wasn't alone anymore. Jake drove the Toyota down the dark Route 66, its weak headlights cutting through the night. It was 5 a.m., the sky still black, only faint streaks hinting at dawn. Tina sat shotgun, clutching a cold coffee, eyes on the delivery slip they'd found. The silence in the car was thick, not from the cold, but from unspoken questions. Was that skeleton really Linda? And if so, who put her in that crate, forgotten for 12 years? Jake, you sure about this? Tina broke the quiet, her voice rough with concern. That warehouse has been empty for a decade. Might be nothing but dust and rats. I'm not sure, Jake said, gripping the wheel until his knuckles whitened. But I have to go. If it's my mom, I can't sit around not knowing. Tina nodded, saying no more. She knew Jake's stubborn streak too well. They met in high school, two misfits in Flagstaff. Her from a broken home, him with a missing mom and a drunk dad. They'd bonded over skipped classes, smoking behind the gym, dreaming of escaping. But life pinned them here at Circle K, scraping by. What was Linda like? Tina asked softly, pulling him from his thoughts. You don't talk about her much. Jake stared at the road, then sighed, unlocking a door he'd kept shut. She was good in her way. Not perfect, she'd snap when tired, and we were always broke. But she loved me, I knew that. She worked odd jobs, Walmart, paper routes, even nights at that warehouse, to keep us going. He paused, voice rough. She'd sing old country songs, Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash. I can still smell her cheap perfume. $5 at Walmart. Then one day, she didn't come back. Tina watched him, eyes softening. You think she ran off? Like the cop said. No, Jake said sharply. I never bought it. Dad did. Said she got tired of him, of me, ran off with some guy. But she wasn't like that. She wouldn't leave me without a word. He glanced at Tina, eyes red. And now that necklace. I think someone took her. Tina squeezed his shoulder, a small comfort. Then we'll find out, she said. Whatever happened, I'm here. The Toyota veered off Route 66 onto a bumpy dirt road toward the warehouse. Jake had Googled it. An hour out, a speck amid dry fields. As they arrived, dawn painted the sky faint orange. The warehouse loomed, a gray concrete hulk, windows smashed, walls tagged with graffiti. Weeds choked the entrance, an iron door hanging loose, creaking in the wind. They stepped out, the cold biting through Tina's hoodie and Jake's thin jacket. He grabbed a flashlight from the trunk, though daylight was creeping in. Looks like a horror movie, Tina said, half laughing. Sure there's no ghosts? If there are, I hope it's Mom, Jake replied, forcing a smile through his nerves. He shoved the door open, its long screech revealing a black void inside. The warehouse was bigger than he'd expected, tilting metal shelves stacked with old crates, dust thick on the floor, their footprints stark. The air reeked of mold and cardboard, wind whistling through wall gaps. Jake swept the flashlight around, heart pounding at every shadow. Look, he said, pointing to crates near the door. Same kind as ours. Old, faded labels. Tina checked one. Circle K Distribution, Flagstaff Depot. October 2010. These are ancient, back when I was in 8th grade. Jake nodded, eyes on the stack. Mom worked here in 2011. If she died here, her body could have been stashed in one of these. He swallowed, steadying his voice. Let's split up. Look for anything odd, papers, stuff, whatever. Tina agreed, though uneasy. Jake went left, past leaning shelves, while Tina took the right, near torn crates. He scanned each corner, pulse racing, unsure what he was chasing, a clue, a sign, anything to quiet the nightmare growing in his head. 20 minutes in, Tina called out, Jake, over here. Her voice was sharp, tinged with panic. He ran, nearly tripping on rusted metal. Tina stood by an old employee locker, its lock broken, door ajar. Inside, a worn leather journal, Polaroids, a tarnished Zippo. Found at the bottom, Tina said, handing him the journal. Someone named Carl. Jake flipped it open, hands shaking. The handwriting was messy, ink faded but legible. Early pages logged work, crate counts, shifts, gripes about pay. Then the tone shifted, frantic. One entry read, October 15th, 2011. She knew too much. Linda caught me taking stuff, threatened to call the cops. Didn't mean to kill her. She fell, hit her head on the table. Blood everywhere. Stuffed her in a crate. No one will find her. Jake stopped breathing, glued to the words. Linda, he whispered. My mom. Tina gripped his shoulder, voice trembling. Jake, this is proof. Who's Carl? He worked here. Must have, Jake said, voice hard. He killed her. Hid her in that crate. Left her here for years. He flipped more pages, finding only ramblings about Carl quitting soon after. He grabbed a Polaroid, a middle-aged man, thinning hair, in a Circle K uniform outside this warehouse. Backside, Carl, 2010. This guy, Jake said, showing Tina. I've got to find him. How? Tina asked. It's been 12 years. He could be dead or gone. Doesn't matter, Jake said, ice in his tone. I'll find him. Wherever he is, I need the whole truth. They stood in the cold warehouse, the flashlight dimming, wind whispering through the walls like echoes of the past. Jake clutched the journal, anger and pain surging. He hadn't just found his mom. He'd found a man who took her away. Jake drove away from the warehouse, Carl's journal on the passenger seat beside the Polaroid. Tina stared out the window, dawn's red glow spreading over the dry fields along Route 66. Neither spoke, the air in the old Toyota thick with the weight of 12 years of pain Jake had just unearthed. He didn't know who Carl was, if he was alive or dead, but one thing was clear. Carl had killed his mom, and Jake wouldn't rest until he faced him. Jake, what are you going to do with this? Tina finally asked, nodding at the journal. You've got proof now. Why not hand it to the cops? Jake gripped the wheel, eyes fixed ahead. I will, but not yet. I want to see Carl first. I need to hear it from him. why he did it, what he did to her. Tina frowned, clearly uneasy. You crazy? He's a killer, Jake. If he's still around, he could be dangerous. You don't know where he is or if he's got buddies. I don't care, Jake said, voice flat. I've spent 12 years not knowing. Now I've got a shot at answers. I'm not letting the cops take that away. Tina sighed, knowing arguing was pointless. Fine, but I'm coming with you. You're not doing this alone. Jake nodded, silent. He was glad she was there, though deep down, this felt like his fight. Him against Carl, him against the past. Back in Flagstaff, they stopped at a roadside diner. Vinyl seats torn, air thick with burnt coffee. In a corner booth, they spread out the journal and photo, hunting for clues. Carl's name barely popped up, just shift notes and a scribbled line. Moved to trailer park near Seligman after quitting. Seligman, a speck of a town 70 miles west, all dive bars and cheap trailers for broke workers. Seligman's small, Tina said, sipping coffee. If he's alive, he won't be hard to find. But 12 years, Jake, he could be gone or dead. Only one way to find out, Jake said, folding the journal. I'm going. Today. Tina gaped. Today? You just pulled a night shift, drove an hour to the warehouse, and now another 70 miles? You need sleep. I can't sleep, he said, voice low. Not knowing he's out there, living easy after what he did. Tina didn't push. 2 hours later, after grabbing a jacket and a crowbar from his garage for protection, they hit the road. The Toyota groaned, engine whining, but Jake didn't care. All he saw was Carl, the man in the photo, blank-eyed, who'd stolen his mom. Seligman appeared after an hour, a tiny grid of shacks and a rundown gas station. The trailer park sat on the edge, rusted mobile homes scattered across a sandy lot. Jake parked near the entrance, and they stepped out into whipping wind, smelling of diesel and scorched grass. An old woman in a lawn chair eyed them from her porch. You know Carl? Jake asked, holding up the Polaroid. Carl used to work at Circle K. She squinted, then pointed down the row. Carl Jensen? Number 17, end of the line. But he don't like visitors. Watch yourself. Jake thanked her, heart racing as they headed to Trailer 17. A beat-up box, paint peeling, windows boarded. He took a deep breath, crowbar tight in hand, and knocked. No answer. He pounded harder. Carl, open up. I know you're in there. A shuffle inside, then the door cracked open. An old man peered out. White hair thin, skin wrinkled, eyes cloudy. Jake knew him instantly. The face from the photo, aged a decade. Carl glanced at Jake, then Tina, panic flashing. Who are you? I don't know you, he rasped. I'm Jake, he said, stepping closer, holding up the journal. Linda's son. You remember Linda, Carl? The woman you killed 12 years ago. Carl paled, hands shaking on the doorframe. I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here, or I'll call the cops. Go ahead, Jake snarled, tossing the journal at Carl's feet. Read that first. You wrote it, didn't you? You admitted you killed my mom, stuffed her in a crate. I found her, Carl. I know everything. Carl stared at the journal, then Jake, eyes wide with fear. He stumbled back, nearly falling, but Jake advanced, blocking him. You're not running, he said. Tell me the truth. Why'd you do it? Carl wheezed, clutching his chest like a heart attack was coming. I didn't mean to kill her, he whispered. Linda, she saw me taking stuff. I was selling it beer, smokes, small stuff, to a guy in Phoenix. She threatened to snitch. We fought. I pushed her, she fell, hit her head on the table. I panicked, hid her in a crate, figured no one'd find her. Jake stood still, blood roaring in his ears. He wanted to lunge, beat Carl senseless, but his hand only clenched the crowbar tighter. You killed my mom over some beer, he roared. Left her there 12 years while I thought she ditched me. I didn't mean it. Carl yelled, voice breaking. I quit right after, ran from Flagstaff. I've lived with it every day, kid. You think I'm a piece? Jake didn't answer. He turned away, breathing hard to cage his rage. Tina tugged him back. Enough, Jake. Call the cops. Let them handle him. Jake nodded at last. He dialed 911, spilling it all. The skeleton, the warehouse, Carl. Within an hour, cops swarmed the trailer park, cuffing Carl and hauling him off. Detective Ramirez, a grizzled guy who'd worked Linda's case years ago, took over. Always thought something was off, he said, sighing. No evidence, so we closed it. You did good, Jake. The police hit the warehouse, pulled DNA from the bones. A week later, it was confirmed. Linda. Carl was locked up, awaiting trial. Jake stayed out of it, handed over the journal and photo, let Ramirez deal with the rest. But he couldn't skip the trial. A month later, he sat in the back, watching Carl face the judge, looking more haggard than ever. Carl confessed, stealing stock, the fight, Linda's accidental death. Life in prison, though at 70, he wouldn't last long. Jake felt no relief, no joy, just emptiness. Post-trial, Jake drove to Flagstaff Cemetery, where Hank had bought an empty plot for Linda. Now she rested there, a small stone reading, Linda Marie Evans, 1975 to 2011, loving mother. He stood in the cold wind, holding the cross necklace, eyes blurring. Found you, Mom, he whispered. Rest easy. That night, he worked his Circle K shift. Tina stopped by with coffee and a hug. You okay? She asked. Yeah, Jake said, meaning it for the first time in weeks. He wasn't that 12-year-old waiting for Mom anymore. He'd found her, and though the past couldn't change, he could move on.